Part 39. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 399. During the period of hesitation in Texas, Binghua had already used Skyblade calculations to find some loopholes in the God-killing combat plan. Binghua immediately made relevant preparations, and the various special equipment needed for the operation were also worked overtime by the scientific research angels to produce and send them to Binghua's arsenal. These special equipment will play a decisive role in the God-killing battle, making up for the gap in strength and size between the two sides. No one knows the advantages and disadvantages between the angel warriors and the titans better than Binghua, who has been dealing with them for so long. The reason why she had always been at a disadvantage before was because she lacked understanding of titans, but this time it was different. Binghua was prepared in advance. She believed in the power of technology more than the power of her body. And in order to increase the success rate of the God-killing battle, Binghua specially called Liangbing and Hezui, two angels who had been promoted to the divine body, back from the battlefield. The first target of the God-killing operation was the god of darkness who had fought against Texas. The Titan air cavalry led by him made Binghua quite fearful. It was also the culprit of the serious attrition of the Angel Legion during this period. For the safety of the battlefield airspace, Binghua felt it was necessary to behead the Titan air cavalry commander, leaving them leaderless, and then annihilate this Titan aerial force with the force of thunder. In fact, Angel and Kamigawa did not expect that the war would reach this point. According to their expectations, the combined fleet with superior strength should be overwhelming and easily break through all the defense lines of the Titans in front. But in fact, both sides lost a lot of troops on this giant Earth-like planet that was temporarily recognized as Titan's home star. In the tug-of-war for more than half a month, tens of thousands of lives were lost every day. Even after paying such heavy casualties, there were almost no desirable results. So far, no Kamigawa troops have been able to set foot on the large-scale temple complex with a range of more than 100 kilometers on the planet. As soon as Kamigawa's experimental airdrop operation and the dozen or so reconnaissance teams sent by Angel entered that area, there would be no news within just a few minutes. Now, apart from knowing that the temple complex is very grand, has a complex structure, and is guarded by a large number of high-ranking Titan-level warriors, there is no other information. Binghua had a hunch in his heart that this god-killing battle would be the breakthrough in this war. As long as the area outside the temple group was cleared, he could launch an attack from the ground and the air at the same time. After thinking for a night, Texas on the surface of Titan's home planet finally agreed to Angel's god-killing combat plan, gave up the original plan to return to the battleship to rest, and began to gather his super soldiers who were still capable of fighting. Texas stood on a fallen stone pillar in the partially collapsed temple hall, riddled with traces of battle. Fighters of Kamigawa, the evacuation transport ship will land in 10 minutes to pick up the injured brothers. And I and some of you will continue to stay here to cooperate with the actions of the Angel allies. As soon as Texas finished speaking, the scene immediately fell into silence, and the slightly relaxed nerves of the Kamigawa super warriors present immediately picked up again. Texas looked at the silent super warriors below, feeling very satisfied with the warriors following him. I won't hide it from you. The next battle will be extremely dangerous, and we may be killed at any time, so I give you the right to choose. Should you stay and fight those Titan bastards with me, or leave here with the transport ship and return to the battleship? Don't worry if you leave, you are still Kamigawa super warriors, and today's battle will not be recorded on your resume. Texas' words were very direct, without any beating around the bush, laying out two paths in front of these super soldiers. The super soldiers below looked at each other, and their hearts were wavering between the two choices, because the option of living was too tempting, but the honor of being soldiers reminded them that such behavior was no different from deserting. I am willing to stay. Those Titan bastards have killed so many of my brothers. I want to avenge them. Even if I am not their opponent, I will give them a blow before I die, so that they can see how powerful our thunder blade stars are. A strong man nearly 2 meters tall with a 4 to 5 centimeter scar on his face and a slightly bluish complexion pushed aside the others who were blocking him and raised the black sword in their hands and shouted loudly. His words were like a signal, and some people who originally wanted to stay and fight began to agree, just like a rapidly spreading virus. In the end, all the super soldiers present shouted to make the Titans look good, because they had been hit by the Titans before. Ambush and thereby avenge the dead brothers. As the transport spaceship transporting the wounded left under the escort of several angels, Texas began to allocate defensive areas to the hundreds of super soldiers and thousands of elite Kamigawa warriors who remained, intending to build a temple based on it. A defensive position can't be too obvious even if it's acting, right? The warships located outside the atmosphere also airdropped some base turrets again to block and kill the Titans. Soon the large decorations in some areas around the Titan temple were removed and replaced by small energy turrets with their muzzles pointing diagonally into the sky. As for why there are no large or giant turrets, I'm sorry that the amount of engineering work for that thing is too huge and only exists in dreams. The day after Texas agreed to the Angels' God-killing operation, the Titans' forces finally pulled up a siege net. The sky is occupied by aerial cavalry riding giant beasts. They are like gosh ox hunting at high altitudes, and may swoop down at any time. As Kamigawa established a simple position, its fort located in the middle and rear opened fire, followed by a loud explosion. This war on the ground finally happened. Brothers, open fire for me. Let these Titan bastards know that the war god river has never been afraid of anyone in terms of position. Dazzling blue thick beams of light shot across a distance of several thousand meters towards the Titan warriors heading towards the temple area. But soon the Titans crossed the distance that could only be beaten and came to the temple defended by Texas. The Kamigawa warriors within the defense line immediately controlled heavy weapons and started shooting, while those super soldiers picked up their weapons, climbed over the battle line and sneaked into the ruins ahead. The god of darkness, who was leading his legions in pursuit, was already happy when he saw Texas and his men not leaving with the transport ship. Titan warriors. Let Kamigawa feel the power of our Titan clan. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 400. The scene when hundreds of figures over 40 meters tall and as huge as a hill charged together was extremely shocking, as if the ground was shaking. The Titan's thunderous war cry swept in all directions like a sonic weapon, deafening the ears. On the defensive position established based on a Titan temple, the ordinary Kamigawa soldiers responsible for controlling heavy weapons had never seen such a scene before. They all looked at the battlefield with horrified expressions. But soon these soldiers who had just entered the battlefield of Titan were slapped on their helmets by veterans under Texas command, and they woke up amidst loud scoldings. Then he began to control the turret in front of him and began to fire at the giant figure rushing toward him. He didn't even need auxiliary aiming. The giant figure of the Titan was the best target. The defensive positions deployed by Texas extend backwards in a staircase. At the front are the most elite super soldiers in the team, who are demigods in the eyes of ordinary people, followed by the slightly weaker second-generation super soldiers. Beyond the defense line of the super soldiers, there is a heavy firepower position composed of Kamigawa snipers, fixed turrets, and S-13 mobile fortresses. However, at the moment, most of their attention is on the Titan air cavalry in the sky. At the beginning of this war, Kamigawa's heavy firepower caused a lot of losses to the charging Titan army, but then he was taught a lesson by the Titan air cavalry in the sky. The lightning that fell from the sky was too powerful. Except for the S-13, which had been specially designed for defense, all other weapons were paralyzed on the spot. Texas, who was at the front of the battlefield, seemed not to have seen the tragedy behind him. With red eyes, he let out a deafening roar like a madman. He swung his battle axe and chopped off the thick calves and leg armor of a Titan in front of him on the spot. Like a small stick broken into two pieces. The Titan Dark God, who was responsible for commanding this war, saw this scene and thought it was the last resistance of Texas. He stepped up his offensive on the temple. He even planned to personally go on stage and kill the Kamigawa god of war with his gun. Just when Kamigawa's heavy firepower troops were being harassed by the Titan air cavalry, the Angel Legion, which had already assembled above the Titan atmosphere, also moved. At present, the reconnaissance angel has discovered that the other two main gods of Titan are far away from Texas, and it will take at least 5 minutes to reach them. 5 minutes was enough for Angel, who was good at high-speed mobile combat. As soon as the war below began, Binghua immediately ordered an assault. For a time, nearly 10,000 elite angels, together with Binghua, Liangbing, and Hizui, rushed towards the atmosphere below. At the same time, following them were several silver triangular prisms nearly 100 meters tall. The god of darkness, the leader of the Titan air cavalry, drove his even larger flying behemoth to the battlefield. He immediately used his unfamiliar Kamigawa language to interfere with Texas' emotions, trying to provoke him. But Texas, who was well aware of the intentions of this war, was filled with anger. When provoked, his blood immediately surged, and he cut a high-ranking Titan in front of him into pieces from head to toe with an axe. 2 halves. You are simply unreasonable. Seeing this, the god of darkness said angrily. At the same time, he controlled the giant beast under his crotch. The terrifying bioelectric energy began to brew in the beak of the giant beast, and was about to be launched. But at this moment, the sky suddenly became fiery red, followed by dense burning red energy strikes fell from the sky like meteors. For a time, both the Titans and the Kamigawa people stood stunned on the spot, until the falling flame bombardment swallowed up a dozen Titan warriors. You ran. Why did you ran come here suddenly? As the commander of the air cavalry, the Titan Dark God was shocked when he saw this. Before launching the attack on the Texas headquarters, he ordered his air cavalry to scan the surrounding area, but did not find any winged man activities at all. Signs, where did they come from? However, as the Lord of Darkness, he made the best decision in the current situation, which was to order the Titan air cavalry present to abandon the Kamigawa position and turn their attention to the sudden appearance of the winged man. Binghua passed through the Titan air cavalry that was coming towards her, but she didn't see any movement. The armor of the Titan air cavalry that passed by her suddenly exploded, and they fell directly from the back of the giant beast under her to the ground. However, on the battlefield on the occasion, Binghua's performance did not attract the attention of others. Texas, who was confronting the Titan Dark God, suddenly received a communication from Binghua. The anger that originally surged in his heart was suppressed, and his eyes looking at the Titan Dark God suddenly became a little playful. There were ice flowers and cold ice on the battlefield, and the 3 girls were flying towards Texas at a very fast speed. When they were about to reach their destination, the 3 girls dispersed. Did you see that guy riding a bird hanging motionless in the air? He is our target. Wait a moment and listen to my order and we will move that thing over together and restrain him. Binghua repeatedly warned Liangbing and Hizui in the communication channel, and their responses were simple. Don't worry, I'm a professional when it comes to wormhole transport. Hizui responded calmly, but the Titan Dark God, who was focusing most of his attention on Texas at the moment, had no idea that 3 high-level angels were approaching him at this moment, hiding deadly knives. God of War Kamigawa, don't think that with the help of Winged Man, you can leave this battlefield alive. After a moment of stalemate, the Titan Lord moved, and like a missile falling from the sky, the giant beast beneath him suddenly came with a gun in hand. The playful look on Texas's face immediately disappeared, and turned into solemnity. He raised his axe and was about to reach it, but suddenly several 100-meter-long triangular prisms fell from the sky, shrouding the Titan Lord as if calculated in advance. In the next moment, complex sacred language information codes lit up on the triangular prism, and there were also faint arcs of light. Terrifying pressure acted violently on the Titan Lord and his mount. With a loud bang, the triangular prism and the Titan Lord surrounded by him fell to the ground and fell to a third of the earth. The Titan Dark God roared and supported the ground with both arms, resisting the terrifying pressure like a mountain on his body. For a moment, the surrounding triangular prisms that were originally submerged in the ground showed signs of being lifted up. But soon he was unable to do so, because Texas came. He did not step into the force field of the triangular prism. Instead, he raised the god-killing battle axe outside, grinning and revealing a smile full of personal color. A ferocious smile. Binghua nodded towards Liangbing and Hizui, who were maintaining the triangular prism suppression force field, and quit controlling the triangular prism in the next second. Binghua, who had freed his hand, glanced at Texas, who was charging the god-killing battle axe below, and didn't pay attention. Instead, he raised his right hand above his head and opened it, and the space behind him began to distort in large areas. In the space distortion that rippled like water, the huge silver sword tip began to appear, and gradually revealed the huge sword body behind it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 401. Binghua, hurry up. I can't hold myself back anymore. Liangbing even yelled like a foul-mouthed mother, letting Binghua, who was carrying the star blade of destruction, know that the situation was critical and couldn't help but move her gaze downwards. I saw that the Titan Lord, who had been firmly suppressed by the force fields emitted by several triangular prisms, slowly straightened up against the pressure of the energy field. A trace of surprise flashed across Binghua's cold face. You must know that the pressure of the energy field below is enough to deform a battleship hundreds of meters long. But time was enough. Binghua spread her wings and flew backwards. The star blade of destruction was now fully visible in the sky. The nearly kilometer-long silver-gray giant sword was covered with glowing red lines, and the boiling dark energy caused the surrounding space to appear distorted. Liangbing exclaimed when he saw Binghua carrying such a big guy, and Hizui on the other side also had a look of shock. The Titan Lord below roared angrily, and waved the war gun in his hand towards the surroundings, sweeping away all the triangular prisms that were partially submerged in the ground. As the target of Binghua and other angels, the Titan god naturally saw the terrifying giant sword falling from the sky above his head. The terrifying pressure invaded the whole body from the top of his head. At the last moment of life and death, he burst out as fast as he could to leave the place, but failed. As his right leg lightened, his body moved uncontrollably. Fall forward. At some point, the Titan Lord's right leg was completely broken at the knee. As the ground shook, the Titan Lord's huge body fell to the ground. Then the star blade of destruction fell from the sky with a scorching red halo surrounding it, and it was like a sword of judgment descended by the gods, nailing its target. Texas, who was still swinging his axe, rushed forward. The next moment, the terrifying energy spread, and the shock wave swept across the surroundings. The nearby Titan temple, which had been damaged in many places, collapsed. In the dusty mid-air, Liangbing came to Binghua's side at some point and said in a loud voice, "Binghua, when did you get this thing? Why have I never seen you use it?" Seeing that Binghua ignored him, Liangbing felt bored and said to himself, Tisk, tisk, if you are hit by such a big weapon that can drive dark energy, you will definitely die. Originally, I planned to use a chain to have fun with him, but it seems that he does not have this blessing. If Binghua didn't catch Liangbing, he waved his little hand, and a breeze passed by, blowing away the flying dust, revealing the dozens of meters long blade of the star blade of destruction. With the star blade of destruction as the center, a terrifying ladder-shaped crater appeared on the surrounding ground. The crater was filled with upturned rocks and various stone debris crushed into debris by the impact. As for the Titan Lord, half of his body is left in the area where the star blade of destruction contacts the ground and he is lingering. The terrifying high temperature is burning the remaining half of the body and internal organs of the Titan Lord. The blood spurting out from his wounds is like coolant, splashing on the star blade of destruction with a sizzling sound, and then evaporated by high temperature into steam and dissipated in the air. Even though half of his body had been crushed into nothingness by the destruction star blade, the powerful vitality of the Titan Protoss prevented the Titan Lord from dying. He stared at his bloodshot eyes and tried to grab the weapon beside him, but Binghua he was not given this opportunity. 7 kills wrapped in red light shot into the forehead of the Titan Lord like a laser. The next moment, a dazzling red light lit up from his eyes, mouth, and nose. As a subtle muffled sound came out, the Titan Lord stretched out his weapon. His hands fell to the ground feebly. Texas also happened to be near the star blade of destruction at this moment, and completely watched the scene of the Titan Lord's head being imploded. The next moment Texas raised his tomahawk and turned towards the battlefield behind him and roared. The Titan gods are dead. It's time for us to fight back. Use their blood to water the earth beneath our feet. To pay homage to our fallen brothers and compatriots. As Texas finished speaking, the roars of Kamigawa warriors continued to erupt on the battlefield, and the originally silent battlefield became lively again. Binghua recalled his 7-killing sword and pointed it in the direction of the Titans on the ground, and a very personal voice spread in the sky. Sisters! Aid our allies! Like relocated birds, covering half of the sky, the angels flapped their wings and swooped down from the sky with weapons in hand. The angels' beautiful figures and exquisite armors, coupled with the white wings on their backs, made them look like goddesses descending from the sky in the eyes of the Kamigawa soldiers below. Countless soldiers became as crazy as chicken blood. Brave and not afraid of death. In the end, with the cooperation of Kamigawa and Angel, the god of darkness, one of the main Titan gods, and most of his Titan air cavalry were annihilated, and no Titans were able to escape the battlefield. Then Binghua and Liang Bingbing split into 2 groups, and Shi, Hizui and Liang god of war went to execute the god-killing operation, and the target was Binghua's old rival, the god of thunder. Texas, Liang Bing, and Lin Yuan were in charge of the god of light's god-killing operations. As for why they are grouped in this way, there is a reason. Binghua has strong attack power and certain control capabilities, but she does not know the clone technique and cannot do both at the same time, so she needs someone to assist her in fighting. Only in this way can Binghua hunt down the Titan Lord with confidence. The situation of Texas and Binghua is different. Texas has extremely strong attack capabilities and survivability, but lacks the means to restrict the enemy. Liang Bing's space confinement technology can just make up for Texas's shortcomings in this area. For Texas, the Axeman, as long as he outputs the environment, he never needs a second axe to kill people. The god-killing battle went very smoothly. The god of thunder and the god of light died in the god-killing battle in frustration. They were taken away by Angel and Kamigawa without even using half of their abilities. The reason why it went so smoothly was mainly because there was a time lag between Binghua and Texas, and he did not let the news spread after killing the god of darkness. Taking advantage of the fact that the other 2 Titan Lords were unprepared for the god-killing combat method, they directly controlled them, and then randomly beat them and took away the lives of the 2 Titan Lords who could not move. Without their highest combat power, the remaining Titans alone could not hold up the situation. With the cooperation of Angel and Kamigawa, the Titans' troops were beaten back steadily, and it only took a few days to advance. Arriving at the outskirts of the giant temple complex, the Kamigawa troops that were airdropped near the battlefield can clearly see the giant temple complex stretching on the horizon, and that will be the battlefield they need to go to later. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 402. I haven't contacted you for a while. I heard that you have found the Titan Protoss home planet and launched an attack. I don't know what the current situation is. Do you need me to lead the Legion to help? Binghua shook his head slightly and said no. Sister Kesha, how is the situation over there? Kesha on the other side of the communication changed to a more comfortable sitting position, her fingers were twiddling with the blonde hair hanging on her chest and she said calmly. What else can I do? Sitting here and looking at the scenery every day makes me feel moldy. However, those Titans are quite ambitious. During this period, they have been harassing the Kamigawa base and supply fleet, but they were all dismissed by my guardian angels. It was hard to do anything. Kesha summarized the recent events in an understatement, then her eyes fell on Binghua on the communication projection, and asked curiously. How is the battle going over there? From your appearance, it seems that the battle is going well. It can't be said to be smooth, but we haven't encountered many difficulties. The resistance of the Titans is very determined. We need time to eliminate their effective strength. After hearing this, Kesha felt confident, smiled and asked again. How is Liang Bing doing lately? I haven't contacted her for a while, and she hasn't taken the initiative to look for me recently. I have really grown up and no longer clings to me. I remember that she used to be by my side every day and couldn't drive her away. Hearing Kesha mention Liang Bing, Binghua's mind suddenly flashed back to Liang Bing laughing wildly on the battlefield. Liang Bing is pretty good. Anyway, I am very happy to see her play. Then Kesha and Binghua chatted for a while, and finally Kesha disconnected the communication, but before disconnecting Kesha said to Binghua. Binghua, if you have any unresolved difficulties, you can contact me at any time. As the King of Angels, I am not sitting in this position for nothing. Hearing this, Binghua understood what Kesha meant. According to the information she got when talking to He-11 not long ago, Kesha, as the King of Angels, has completed the upgrade of the second-generation Divine Body. However, the current technology of the second-generation Divine Body is too complicated, and only Kesha, as the King of Angels, can enjoy the benefits of this top technology that is still in the process of being perfected. And as the King of Angels, Kesha also has a special right, that is, most of the dark silver weapons currently recorded in the angel civilization are stored in Kesha's arsenal. The reason for this situation is to prevent the technology of Ansu silver weapons from leaking out. If this technology is mastered by other civilizations, it will pose a huge threat to the super warrior system of the angel civilization. The war against the Titan Temple group on the planet's surface had already begun a few days ago. A large number of Kamigawa troops gathered on the wasteland plains outside the temple and launched an attack on the temple group in a harsh environment. However, the defense force of the Titan Temple was extremely strong. There were a large number of high-ranking Titans in the garrison. Under their lightning, the attacking Kamigawa troops were defeated. During this period, Texas also tried to lead an attack, but it still ended in failure. He himself was able to break into the temple complex with the firepower of the Titans, but his subordinates could not. The raging Golden Thunder was like a chasm. Ordinary super soldiers and high-level super soldiers are isolated from each other. After Texas broke through the blockade of the Upper Titan, he found that he was greeted by the guardians of the Upper Titan led by the Titan God. Faced with the siege of countless high-level Titans, even Texas had to avoid the edge for the time being. He didn't want to die from exhaustion there. During the attack on the Titan Temple group, the Kamigawa troops in other areas were not idle either. Under the leadership of the angels and the god of war, the light of Kamigawa, and the spear of Kamigawa, they continued to destroy the rear pillars on the planet. There are small Titan temples on the top. In these destroyed temples, Kamigawa, an angel, discovered a special device, but because no one present was a scientific researcher, they were all destroyed on the spot. As the Titan temples on the surface are pulled out one by one, the inert energy field covering Titan is also constantly weakening. If this continues, Soon the combined fleet will be able to carry out supporting orbital bombardments on the surface. After discovering this situation, Binghua discussed with Texas and immediately stopped the battle plan to attack the Titan Temple group and began to build a fire support range on the spot to prepare for saturation bombing in the Temple group. After spending several days, Kamigawa relied on his numerical advantage to build a large number of small and medium-sized long-range forts on his own position not far from the temple complex, pouring firepower towards the temple location. Maybe it was because the artillery fire was too fierce. The Titans, who were a little angry after being bombed, rushed out of the temple one night. Under the cover of the bad weather at night, they tore the Kamigawa base into pieces, causing quite a lot of damage. Casualties. On the 57th day of the Battle of Titan, the weather was sunny and there were no thick cumulonimbus clouds in the sky. Binghua, who was supposed to be on the Skyblade flagship, was now standing on the combat platform of a Skyblade, with the Skyblade under his feet constantly falling. There are other Skyblades around that are doing the same thing. Among them, a large number of space battleships from Kamigawa are following behind the Skyblades, passing through the inert energy field that is already difficult to maintain. Binghua looked at the dark clouds and mist that kept passing by around him. The Skyblade seemed to be falling towards an unknown abyss. Suddenly, a burst of shouting sounded on the public channel. Sisters of Angels! The last city of my enemy, the Titan Protoss, is right in front of us. For the glorious future of the angel civilization, we will all become angels of judgment and impose the most severe judgment. This is the justice of angels, the justice of the creatures in the Kamigawa body, and the will of Queen Kessa. Binghua didn't feel much after hearing this, but some of the angel recruits became excited. These are the new recruits Kesha added after coming to Red Star Ring. They are different from the angel warriors commanded by Binghua before. In the understanding of these angel recruits, this war is just. Angels and Kamigawa are the righteous side, while the beast civilization that invades Kamigawa's civilization is evil, so this war is a battle between justice and evil. Contest. As warriors of the angelic civilization, in order to fulfill the will and justice of the King of Angels, their morale is extremely high and their emotions are also very high. Binghua admired Keisha for this. She easily instilled a positive thought into the warriors of the angel civilization, making it easier to improve morale. When the fleets of Angel and Kamigawa passed through the inert energy field, the Titan Temple group on Titan also faced its most serious tests since its establishment. The astonishingly powerful orbital bombardment fell from the sky, like a bright rain of fire. Angel and Kamigawa launched a covering orbital bombardment to the extent that it would not affect the stability of the planet, and launched a cleansing of the Titan Temple group area. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 403. As the meteor showers representing orbital bombing gradually decreased, the Kamigawa orbital airborne troops appeared as the first offensive echelon. Each black hexagonal drop pod, narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, shot toward the surface like cannonballs, crashing into the towering and majestic temple looming in the dust and smoke. Almost as soon as Kamigawa's airborne troops landed, the Angel Legion followed them into the battlefield, dividing into small teams and walking between the towering temple buildings. When the Titan warriors inside the temple saw an enemy appear, they immediately launched an attack from a hidden position. The giant weapon slashed down, and the golden thunder raged and bent in the air, turning the temple into man-eating beasts. Boom! A huge explosion sounded, and the member responsible for the explosion in a Kamigawa team muttered dissatisfiedly as he looked at the thick wall that was only a dent made by the special high-energy bomb. I've never seen such a thick wall since I joined the army. Damn it! Stay away. I'm going to use 3 times the amount this time. If you don't believe it, I won't be able to blow up this wall. While speaking, the Kamigawa warrior took out 3 circular explosive devices larger than a palm, fixed them on the wall, and after activating them, he took a few steps and ran dozens of meters away. As the timing of the explosive device returned to zero, a huge boom was heard, and the Kamigawa warriors present felt that the ground seemed to shake. Looking at the temple wall that was blasted with a gap of several meters, the Kamigawa warrior in charge of the explosion clenched his fist hard and shouted excitedly. "Haha, I knew it would definitely explode." The companion who was close to the Kamigawa warrior patted him on the shoulder, stood up from the ground holding the gun and said, "It's really yours, you really blasted out a path. Walk over to see what's on the other side and establish a safe landing point. No trace of the Titans has been found in this area for the time being." When the Kamigawa warriors present approached the blasted wall, the wall suddenly made a creaking sound, and large spiderweb-like cracks appeared. The next moment, a huge figure crashed through the wall and appeared in the retinas of the God's River warriors. "I didn't expect there were ants from Kamigawa hiding here." The disdainful words spat out from the mouth of the golden-armored Titan resounded like thunder in everyone's eardrums. The captain of the Kamigawa team below looked at the golden-armored Titan and felt like he had hit the jackpot, and shouted directly, "It's the one with golden armor. Run away quickly." While speaking, the heavy firearm in the captain's hand fired directly, firing bullets the size of thumbs, which exploded into tiny sparks on the chest armor of the golden-armored Titan. Upon hearing this, the other Kamigawa warriors present immediately dispersed and ran in all directions. The jets behind the power armor emitted a faint flame, allowing them to move extremely fast. Kamigawa has been fighting the Titans on Titan for so long, and ordinary soldiers have also figured out their own set of fighting methods. The Kamigawa team that does not carry special heavy weapons can still fight when encountering the silver-armored Titan warriors, but when encountering the gold-armored Titans, it only needs to be able to run away, because although the two are only slightly different in armor and height, the destructive power is completely different. Seeing the Kamigawa warriors fleeing in all directions, the high-ranking Titan jumped forward with a dull nasal sound. When he landed, his wide feet directly trampled an escaping Kamigawa warrior into a pulp. Then golden thunder leaped in the air and exploded in all directions. Several unlucky guys who were close to the Golden Titan were slashed to pieces. Their armors emitted electric sparks and fell to the ground. None of them got up and continued to run away. Mean. After just one face-to-face meeting, nearly one-third of the Kamigawa team was reduced, which frightened the survivors. The captain of the Kamigawa team gritted his teeth in hatred when he saw this scene. The brother who had just been chatting and laughing together died like this in front of his eyes, but he couldn't even avenge his brother. He could only force his brain to calm down and open the communication to contact his superiors. "This is Team 286 of the 8th Orbital Legion. We have encountered the high-level Titan Protoss. I repeat, we have encountered the high-level Titan Protoss. We are now requesting the support of nearby super warriors. Please support us." While the team leader was speaking, several more team members were buried under the solace of the golden-armored Titan's feet and the golden thunder thrown out casually. Your grandma. I'll fight you." The demolition soldier in the team had a mental breakdown. He actually threw away the firearm in his hand, raised the high explosive used for blasting, and with the auxiliary power behind him, shouted and rushed towards the golden-armored Titan. "Stop it! Stop it!" The other soldiers around him quickly spoke out to stop him, but it was useless. Words were so feeble in the current situation that they could not stop a man who had a mental breakdown and was determined to die. There was a loud bang, and the fire from the high explosive set off a billowing cloud of dust and smoke, covering half of the golden-armored Titan's body. Even the sound of gunfire stopped for a moment. The Kamigawa warriors present stared intently at the staggered golden-armored Titan, with expectations rising in their hearts that the golden-armored Titan would be harmed. But as the smoke from the explosion gradually dissipated, the hearts of the Kamigawa warriors present sank, because only the armor on the legs of the golden-armored Titan was slightly deformed, and there were no other injuries. There was a loud bang, and the golden-armored Titan put the weapon in his hand at his side. He looked around at the Kamigawa soldiers in groups of 3 and 3. His patience had been exhausted. He no longer planned to play mouse-catching games with these ants. He spoke in Titan language. He shouted several times towards the hole he entered through. Just hearing the dull sound of footsteps, a group of silver-armored Titans walked in, and the originally wide temple corridor immediately became a little crowded. Just when the Kamigawa warriors present fell into despair, the wall on their side suddenly exploded, and pieces of wall debris fell like boulders, forcing the Kamigawa warriors to evade in embarrassment. This sudden change naturally attracted the attention of the Titans, but only a harsh scream was heard, and several red rays of light shot out and pierced the chests of several silver-armored Titans. The next moment, a terrifying explosion rose up, shattering the breastplates of the silver-armored Titans on the spot, and the chests inside were also bloody. As soon as a large amount of blood spurted out, it was evaporated by the high temperature. Before the Kamigawa warriors present could recover from this sudden turn of events, they heard a soft female voice coming into their ears. "I am the high-level angel Yinga. I came here to support you because I received your message for help. Also, please allow me to say, allies of Kamigawa, you are already safe." The words Yinga used to finish seemed to have some magic power, which instantly dispelled the despair in the hearts of the Kamigawa warriors present. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 404. The first person to react was the squad leader. He immediately shouted in the communication. "Everyone is here, cover the angel allies immediately." The gunshots that had been silent for a while began again, accompanied by energy bombs fired from the small energy storage cannon mounted on the gun body. When Yinga saw this, she didn't hesitate much. With a thought, the several judgment guns that had just been projected flew through arcs in the air towards the judgment gun box on her lower back. Yinga himself swooped down and dodged the blade chopped down by the golden armored titan. In a few flutters, he reached the golden armored titan's calf and swiped the judgment gun in his hand hard. The sound of huge metal collisions spread out, and the golden armored titan's calf was suddenly hit hard, and the huge body that was unsteady fell backwards. But the golden armored titan reacted very quickly. He pushed his left arm backwards, preventing his body from falling to the ground. Yinga was not depressed when he saw this. As the upper echelon of the Titan clan, the golden armored titan had rich combat experience, so it was normal for him to respond like this. He incited his wings to retreat quickly, and then rushed forward again holding the gun of judgment. Although the statistics of the Angel Civilization super soldiers are relatively mediocre, with the help of their wings, they can use the inertia of high-speed flight, so as long as the space is not too small, Angel's attacks generally carry huge kinetic energy generated during flight. By retreating a short distance and then charging, Yinga took full advantage of the Angel's advantage. Every time the spear of judgment in his hand was stabbed or drawn on the upper titan, it would make the opponent's figure unstable and attack movements it's also full of loopholes. With an Angel's thigh holding back the toughest high-ranking titan, the remaining several silver-armored titans were held back by the Kamigawa warriors present. In order to target large targets like the titans, the Kamigawa warriors who participated in the Battle of Titan were equipped with special high-energy booster bullets. This bullet, whose principle was reincarnated from the rocket-boosting technology of pre-nuclear civilization, has the characteristics of high muzzle velocity and strong penetrating power. At the same time, the built-in compressed energy of the bullet will also explode, further improving the armor-piercing and killing capabilities. However, the composition of the Titans is very similar to the super warrior group of the Kamigawa civilization. The stronger the Titan warriors, the stronger their armor will be. As a result, the special bullets equipped by Kamigawa can only polish the armor of the upper Titans, and cannot penetrate the abnormally thick golden full body armor on their bodies in a short time. But the ordinary silver armored Titan warriors are different. Although the thickness of their armor is equally astonishing, under the continuous fire of the conventional firepower equipped by Kamigawa, the damage will be visible to the naked eye. As long as the armor on the silver armored Titans is destroyed, their bodies will not be able to withstand this special bullet fire all the time. To put it simply, they will rely on their lives and sacrifice in exchange for time, in order to achieve the goal of killing the Titans with mortal bodies. Great deeds. Just when Kamigawa's super warriors relied on the mobility of their power armor and the presence of the silver armored Titan to fight Gorilla, the support they called for finally arrived. The scarlet laser light penetrated the wall on one side of the temple, leaving several cross marks on the wall like two cutting knives. There was only a sound of impact, and the wall shattered, and in the hole it is a metal giant over 10 meters high. Young men, pray to me. Your God has come. Accompanied by the slightly cheerful voice of the vicissitudes of life that sounded from the Kamigawa public channel, the S-13 mobile fortress passed through the hole in the wall and rotated the turret on the top, allowing the gunner inside to have a panoramic view of the situation. After hesitating for a moment, the S-13's muzzle passed by the golden armored Titan who was fighting with Yinga, and aimed at the several silver armored Titans chasing the Kamigawa warriors. Just hearing the dull sound of cannon fire, one of the silver armored Titans chasing the Kamigawa warriors was hit in the chest by a blue light bullet. The terrifying high heat and energy turbulence melted his armor, leaving traces on his body. A hideous wound a few meters down the road. Seeing this, the golden armored Titan who was fighting with Yinga ignored the Yinga scurrying around him and raised his giant soldier to destroy the S-13, which posed a great threat to his subordinates. Yinga, who had been looking for flaws in the golden armored Titan, his eyes narrowed when he saw this, and he immediately changed his flight path while charging the gun of judgment behind him. And go to hell! Golden thunder surged on the giant soldier. The moment the golden armored Titan was about to launch a thunderous attack, severe pain suddenly shot through his elbow, as if someone had driven a nail into the elbow joint. The surging thunder tilted and passed by S-13, splitting the wall next to it into a blackened piece, and falling a little bit of ashes. It turned out that just now, while Yinga was taking advantage of the golden armored Titan to focus on Kamigawa's S-13, he quickly reached its elbow and inserted an unfolded judgment gun along the gap in its armor. When the golden armored Titan screamed and retracted his arm, Yinga had already left the spot and reached the knee joint below him. He pulled out a red-hot gun of judgment from the gun case, flapped his wings and rushed forward. The spear in his hand pierced into the golden armor. Facing resistance, Yinga used the other gun in her hand as a hammer and slammed the tail of the gun, driving the gun of judgment in. The next moment, scorching red light came out from the golden armored Titan's knees, and the terrifying heat and dark energy destroyed his leg on the spot. Having lost one of its legs, the golden armored Titan's mobility suffered a major blow. The Kamigawa warriors and S-13 who had freed up their hands were beaten to death on the spot with barrages. Encounters like this between Yinga and the Kamigawa team happen all the time in the vast battlefield of the temple complex, but the endings are often different. There are many Kamigawa squads that were destroyed by the Titans before support arrived, and even the support squad was wiped out. In a wide corridor leading to the core of the temple complex, a group of more than 20 Titan warriors, led by 2 golden armored Titans, ran towards the other end. But suddenly the wall above them was cut open by a slender red sword energy, and it was cutting towards them. The originally neat formation instantly became chaotic, but they successfully avoided the sword energy falling from above their heads. But the next moment, 4 red sword energy, which was several meters long and looked like a thin line, cut through the top of the corridor and fell down. This time, the Titan warriors below could not completely avoid it. 3 silver-armored Titans were affected by the sword energy and had a gash on their bodies. But this was not the end. The wall at the top of the corridor flashed with several rays of red sword light, and suddenly turned into pieces of smooth-edged gravel falling downwards. Among them, there was also a figure with a silver cloak rolled back behind his back. It was Binghua who came to the surface of Titan with the Angel Legion. Binghua slowly straightened up and looked at the Titan warriors on the road ahead who made no movement. The 7-killing king sword in his hand was hanging by his side with no intention of raising it. But the warriors on the Titan side were not as pretentious as Binghua. Under the command of the leading golden-armored Titan, they roared like wild beasts in their throats and rushed forward with weapons in hand. But the next moment, from the several-meter-wide hole above Binghua's head, angels that left elongated after-images in the air rushed into the corridor, heading towards the Titan warriors like arrows. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 405. In just 1 minute, the Titan warriors in the temple corridor were almost strangled by the angel warriors who rushed in. Only the 2 leading high-ranking Titans were still struggling to hold on. The communication interface was projected in Binghua's sight, and he started to contact his assistant officer Jingnan with a thought. Jingnan, have Tianren's detailed scan of the temple been released? If so, send it to me immediately. I need to find the core area of this temple. Jingnan on the other side is also busy at the moment. Since he was injured during the last combat mission in Kamigawa, Jingnan has never been on a mission again. The main reason is that his combat power can only be regarded as average among angels of the same level. Over time Binghua no longer assigned combat tasks to her. Therefore, Jingnan's work is completely biased towards the civilian side, and is developing in the direction of intelligence compilation. Queen, there is an unknown energy in the temple group of the Titan Protoss that interferes with the scanning of the Sky Blade. Now we can only rely on the positions of the warriors to gradually draw the map. Binghua couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he heard this. Before, Tianren could not scan the map of the temples here, and it could be explained by interference from the inert energy field, but now the inert force field covering Titan has been destroyed by a large number of temples. It has almost dissipated, so how could such a situation still occur? Then send me the map first. By the way, how is the situation over at Kamigawa? Jingnan began to contact Tsurui, who was supporting the Kamigawa ground troops, and asked her to briefly describe the battlefield situation. After that, Jingnan briefly summarized the important parts and told the Queen. Queen, Texas, Dilian, Linyuan, Pyexu, and Astrid have arrived at the Titan Temple on the surface. They are currently leading the super warrior army of Kamigawa to quickly kill the Titans around the landing point. According to Zuiji's news, Kamigawa is preparing to airborne large-scale ground combat units to make up for the lack of firepower of the orbital airborne battle group. Binghua's raised eyebrows gradually widened when he heard the words. He said hello and disconnected from Jingnan. He took a few steps forward with his legs and flew up. He was knocked down by several angels. The golden-armored Titan on the ground continued to move forward. Judging from the recent performance of Kamigawa's side, Kamigawa's willingness to destroy the Titans is extremely strong, almost to the point of doing whatever it takes. Especially now, Kamigawa has actually sent all the war gods to the ground. If the Titans had saved a hand in advance and took the opportunity to raid the fleet, they would definitely catch the combined fleet by surprise. Of course, this is only the situation faced by the Kamigawa side. On the Angel side, Binghua left ran in the fleet, while Liangbing was wandering outside the temple waiting for opportunities to kill the enemy. If something really happened, Liangbing could use space technology to create a temporary stargate and return to the Sky Blade. As for why Binghua, the Angel military commander, ended up personally, the first reason was because of her relatively strong combat effectiveness. The second is that as long as Binghua, the Sky Sword King, appears on the battlefield, the morale of the Angel Legion soldiers will be greatly improved and they can exert 100% of their strength. The third reason was Binghua's personal reason, which was to see the King of the Titans. As the initiator of the physical war, what was his purpose in launching this war that swept through several large galaxies? During the time when wars in the Titan God's domain occurred frequently, the angel-affiliated civilization of Red Star Ring and some of Kamigawa's regular troops were not idle either. Because of the influence of hundreds of years of physical war, the Kamigawa civilization and the Beast Body civilization have become mortal enemies of each other. Now that they have finally reached the hometown of the Beast Body civilization, how can the ordinary soldiers of Kamigawa resist retaliation? The angel-affiliated civilization that obeyed Binghua was originally on a mission to eliminate the active forces of the Beast Body civilization. The two sides hit it off and launched a cleanup operation against the Beast Body civilization in the Red Star Ring. For a time, the Shima Empire, which had been greatly reduced in strength due to division, further weakened. Forced by the Kamigawa civilization and the affiliated civilization of the Angels, a large number of Shima orcs began to evacuate the planets they lived in and wander towards the remote boundaries of the universe, trying to leave the war-burning land of Red Star Ring. The relatively powerful Sabata War Alliance and the Tianding Stars withstood the pressure of the regular troops of the Kamigawa civilization, but they were only able to resist and were unable to carry out an effective large-scale counterattack. The Sabata Alliance lost a large number of elite troops in the evacuation battle from the Kamigawa system and the battle when Hiawa stole his home. Currently, there is simply no elite unit that can counterattack Kamigawa. The Heavenly Cauldrons can still protect themselves because of their strong average race strength. However, the Heavenly Cauldron King Titurel has been making frequent mistakes recently, which has caused quite a bit of chaos within the Heavenly Cauldrons. He was even assassinated by his subordinates and almost lost his life. Now they are busy clearing up internal problems and have no intention of sending troops to counterattack. The roaring explosions have continued for several days. Since the attack on the giant temple complex, the orbital bombardment has not stopped supporting the ground troops. Even with a large number of high-level Titans defending, the Titan Protoss is a bit overwhelmed. From the beginning, they continued to increase their troops, and now they are being defeated by Kamigawa and the Angels, and they are constantly shrinking towards the central area of the temple group. During this period, there has been too many sad stories to describe in detail. Above the charred ruins of the temple, wisps of gunpowder smoke rose into the sky. The rubble and debris were dotted with huge mutilated corpses of the Titans. From time to time, angels could be found in the red and black pools of blood. The white wings that originally symbolized the noble status of the angel were no longer as eye-catching as they were in life. As their owner clung to the ground feebly, the dirty wings became stained with patches of dust and black blood. As the sight was pulled forward, beyond the hell-like scene on the ground, what came into view was the battlefield that was constantly erupting with roaring noises, and the shouts and roars of a soldier who was extremely small compared to the big guys on the battlefield. The mobile fortresses moved their thick mechanical legs forward, advancing like the undefeated steel torrent of pre-nuclear civilization across the ground. But even the unstoppable torrent of steel can only move forward with difficulty amidst the constant lightning and thunder, not to mention the Kamigawa warriors on the ground who have become expendable. After a long and hard battle, Kamigawa and the Angels finally advanced to the periphery of the core area of the temple complex. When the troops from both sides advanced to this area, the high-ranking Titans of the Titan Protoss kept popping up like ordinary soldiers, and even dozens of Titans who were rarely seen before appeared. The 7-kill sword in Binghua's hand suddenly extended to nearly double its length, easily slicing through the calf of a Titan god. Taking advantage of the moment when the Titan god fell down due to his leg injury, Binghua quickly crossed the distance between the two and came to his neck. The length of the extended 7-kill sword was more than 1.5 meters. Binghua swung and slashed several times quickly. With a sharp dark silver weapon and a built-in energy-driven formula that can increase the sharpness of the blade, Binghua effortlessly sliced open the Titan god's neck. After this period of dealing with the Titans, it is not just ordinary angel warriors who are familiar with the Titans. Binghua himself has also figured out how to kill these majestic Titans more efficiently. Thanks to the 10,000 rewards for the excessive salt content, and to all the book friends who gave rewards before. The author of this book is not a eunuch, and it will be fine after a few days of this month. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 406. The dull explosion sound was isolated by the thick temple walls, and by the time it reached the ears of the Titan God King sitting on the throne, it was already much quieter, as if the battlefield outside the temple in the core area was extremely far away from here. As the war continues, all the high-ranking Titan warriors originally used to guard the temple have been transferred to the front line. At this moment, the only one here is the Titan God King himself. After an unknown amount of time, a golden armored Titan quickly walked into the temple hall, knelt down on one knee and saluted the God King, while saying something ashamed. The troops of the God King, Yiren and Zhenhe have broken through the defenses outside the God King's palace and are now advancing rapidly towards here. I'm sorry God King, my subordinates are incompetent and have no ability to stop them any longer. The Titan God King, who has been sitting on the throne, giving people a lifeless feeling, like a corpse, suddenly opened the golden eyes behind a helmet visor, and the slightly glowing vertical pupils naturally exuded an inexplicable sense of oppression. It doesn't matter, this has nothing to do with your ability. It is expected that they can reach here. Isolated from the Star Destroyer method of Kamigawa's technological system, if they want to destroy our Titan Protoss, they can only go hand in hand with us. As the Titan God King said these words, he seemed to come to life again. The silver full-body armor that was originally worn on his body and looked thin began to slowly stretch out as he opened his eyes, like the Titan God King. The body began to swell. A few minutes later, with the sound of armor parts colliding, the Titan King stood up from his throne under the shocked gaze of the superior Titan below. This has never happened before. Since his birth, the Titan God King has been sitting in that position and never left. The special black pipes connected to the back of the Titan God King began to disconnect automatically, making bursts of pneumatic sounds. The Titan God King's exposed back was covered with holes and was covered by pieces of silver armor moving downwards with the sound of mechanical braking. Perhaps because he had not walked on the ground for too long, the Titan God King took a step forward, his body swaying slightly as if he would fall down in the next moment. Seeing this, the Titan below subconsciously stood up and supported the Titan God King, but was stopped by him raising his hand. As the Titan God King took a few steps forward again, his movements became more and more skillful, and soon he was almost the same as an ordinary Titan God clan. Raising his shoulders slightly and then lowering them again, the Titan God King slowly exhaled, but because he was wearing a visor, the gas he exhaled spewed out from both sides of the visor like steam. After getting familiar with this body that had entered decay, the Titan God King turned around and raised his hand, and the air with his palm facing upward suddenly became distorted. In contrast, the huge metal throne suddenly began to tremble, making bursts of metal twisting sounds. After a few seconds, as the throne deformed, it was torn apart by an inexplicable force. An irregular sky blue crystal was embedded in the center of the handle. Weapons that looked like swords and guns appeared in the original place of the throne. Sister Ran. Titan's inert energy field has completely disappeared, and we can already carry out powerful orbital bombing of the planet. Angel Ran, who was standing in front of several projection light screens observing the battlefield, was stunned when he heard the words, and then immediately reacted. Are you telling the truth? After confirming the authenticity of the news, Ran was overjoyed and immediately issued an order. All skyblades began to descend into Titan's atmosphere. The inert energy field has always been a hurdle that the United Fleet cannot overcome. This force field can produce a special particle neutralization energy reaction. Whether it is stellar radiation energy or atomic energy reactors, they will become lazy because of this. Stand up. If one suddenly ventures into such a force field, it is very likely that the battleship's engine will crash due to the sudden change in energy output. This kind of energy-inert force field defense, the arrangement of some of the energy particles in it, reminded Binghua of the Eternal Ascension destroyer sequence, the defensive wall of the planetary fortress Sevis, but the gap between the two is quite big. One is a strong refraction, a reduction in neutrality without too much association. Binghua, who had just killed an ordinary Titan god and was recovering the energy of various parts of the Seven Killing King's sword, noticed this change the moment the inert energy field covering Titan and the temple complex in front of him disappeared, and Ran was definitely more, it confirms this feeling. Ran, in my name, please go down and let the high-ranking angels carry out the heavenly blade judgment, and let the ordinary angel warriors take cover. At the same time, let Tianren also provide fire support to cover the area in front of us. No matter what the cost, we must break into this core area today. The war has dragged on for such a long time, and even Binghua, who had been relatively patient in the past, couldn't help but become impatient. The same was true for the Kamigawa troops in other directions. They also discovered the disappearance of the inert energy field and immediately called for fleet support. A terrifying beam of light with a diameter of over 100 meters fell from the sky, like a silver lightsaber, carving out terrifying ravines in the Titan temple complex. On the Angel's side, there was a spear-shaped blazing white beam, which shook the Titan temple complex. The roar of the ground was endless, and buildings hundreds of meters high were directly blown up in half. This greatly boosted the morale of the coalition forces present. The Titans were caught off guard by this sudden attack from the sky. Although they had been ordered to evade, they did not expect that the enemy's attack would be so violent that it would blow the whole continent to pieces. After the orbital bombardment that lasted for several minutes stopped, the originally magnificent Titan temple buildings turned into ruins. There were burning fires and smoke rising into the sky everywhere. Huge circular craters were dotted like scars above the earth. Unlike the cheering Kamigawa soldiers and the happy ordinary angel warriors, all the high-level angels and the high-level super warriors on Kamigawa's side were looking at the gradually dispersing smoke with solemn faces. Because the temple standing in the core area of the Titan temple did not collapse during the large-scale orbital bombardment, and was wrapped in a weak light blue energy. As the orbital bombardment stopped, the energy was rapidly shrinking towards the center. At the same time, a Titan was half a height smaller than all the Titan warriors Binghua had seen so far, and his whole body was covered with layers of silver armor. The Protoss walked out of the temple step by step with a sword and gun in hand. When this figure completely walked out of the standing temple, the seriously injured Titan warriors who had just crawled out of the ruins immediately burst into cheers of unknown meaning. Binghua also carefully noticed that their expressions were abnormal. Fanaticism. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 407. But it is a pity that neither Binghua nor Texas is the kind of person who would watch the enemy rebuild their morale. Almost the moment the Titan God King appeared, the Sky Blade Judgment and various heavy weapons from Kamigawa's side that had been prepared in advance launched an attack on him. The Titan God King's whole body was covered in armor. Facing the various attacks, no one could clearly see his expression at this moment, but he just lightly raised his sword and gun, and slammed the end of the handle towards the ground. The irregular sky blue crystals embedded in the sword and gun of the Titan God King suddenly brightened, and a light blue shockwave spread towards the surroundings. The Sky Blade Judgment atomic energy storm and dense energy beam that attacked the Titan God King were swept away by the impact of this energy, and actually collapsed in mid-air. Even the high-level angels who were brewing the Sky Blade Judgment in mid-air were affected by this energy impact, and suddenly found that the atomic energy gathered by the flaming sword in their hands had lost control and quickly dissipated into the air. As for Kamigawa's heavy ground units, their engines immediately shut down, while ordinary Kamigawa warrior armors started to restart. This was a situation that had never happened before. Binghua felt the changes in herself and the 7 Killing King sword in her hand. Her face became extremely solemn, and she spoke one word at a time. Inertia, nature, energy, quantity, force, field. After doing all this, the Titan God King bent his knees slightly, jumped forward a few steps, directly crossed a distance of several thousand meters, and landed in front of a kind of Kamigawa soldier. Descendants of Kamigawa, come and continue the unfinished war that happened tens of thousands of years ago. Standard Kamigawa language spat out from the mouth behind the Titan King's visor, and its loud voice resounded within a radius of several kilometers. Then I saw the Titan King's right hand, which was not holding a weapon, open and push slightly horizontally in front of him. Almost at the same time, the air in front of the Titan God King seemed to turn into substance, and was moved quickly by a huge energy. Driven by this energy, S-13 weighed nearly 100 tons and was easily overturned and rolled into a ball with other mobile fortresses. In just an instant, a large area in front of the Titan God King was cleared of Kamigawa troops, like a pile of shoveled garbage, integrated with the ruins hundreds of meters away. Before everyone could recover from this exaggerated scene, as the Titan God King pressed down with his palm, the air in an area in front of him where a large number of Kamigawa warriors gathered suddenly began to distort, as if infinite pressure was being exerted. Dozens of S-13 mobile fortresses only lasted for less than 3 seconds before being greatly deformed by the majestic pressure. As for the ordinary Kamigawa warriors, they were directly crushed into pieces by the surge of pressure and the armor they wore. Shapeless bodies. In just a few seconds, the troops on one side of Kamigawa were severely damaged. The remaining Kamigawa warriors spread out in panic and shot under the power of this divine power. No matter whether it was a bullet or a large beam cannon, the Titan God King could not make him take a step back when it hit him, and it could not even leave a scorch on his armor. And the Titan God King just moved his palm slightly, and a large number of Kamigawa warriors would die from the sudden and unknown sense of oppression. A sudden dazzling firelight shone on the side of the Titan God King. A man wearing a white cherry helmet and silver-gray classical armor stabbed forward with a halberd covered with orange-gold energy, dragging out a long firelight behind him. The Titan God King turned his face slightly and stared at the charging Sun War God Emperor Lion with his peripheral vision. A light blue shockwave suddenly spread out from the center of it. The moment Diliang, who was in mid-air, was swept by this shockwave, his figure paused in the air. The energy on the euphorbia in his hand turned into countless orange energy particles and flew away. The gene engine stopped working for a moment, causing the concentration to converge. The dark energy has lost its restraint. Just when Dilion's mind went blank because of this, an indescribable terrifying pressure came from all directions. The golden eyes of the Titan God King were shining with an unprecedented brilliance at this moment, and at some point, his right hand was pointed in the direction of Dilion in a virtual grasp. Under the irresistible pressure, Dilion could not even scream at this moment, and the armor on his body began to deform, making bursts of metal being twisted sounds. If Dilion was asked to describe his feelings at this moment, he would say, it was like being squeezed between two celestial warships, and he could turn into a puddle of flesh at any time. Texas. Guillotine. Accompanied by Texas roar that echoed through the sky, a small figure jumped into the air above the head of the Titan God King, and heavily chopped down the blazing god-killing battle axe in his hand. The deafening explosion spread as the ring-shaped energy exploded, and the giant body of the Titan God King Dong 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 took a few steps back to stabilize its figure. As for Texas, he flew out directly, and the tomahawk in his hand almost fell out of his hand, and finally fell heavily to the ground. Because of this sudden attack, Dilion finally escaped from the unknown oppression and fell to the ground. He knelt on the ground and kept knocking the blood clots mixed with internal organ fragments. Texas pushed aside the rubble that was pressing on him, feeling his trembling hands. His face was extremely solemn, because he had a hunch that the guillotine he hit with almost full strength just now was likely to miss the defense. In fact, just as Texas expected, the Titan King did not suffer any other injuries except for the gap on his helmet that spanned more than half of his faceplate. After the Titan King's eyes stayed on Texas for a moment, his voice came out from behind the visor. "The bearer of the Kamigawa God of War project, it's not bad to meet you at this last moment." Hearing this, Texas raised his eyebrows and shouted loudly, "What do you mean?" But the next moment Texas had no time to think about this. With sharp eyes, he saw a group of angels holding flaming swords swooping down from high in the sky, wanting to attack the Titan King. Texas cursed in a low voice, rushed towards the Titan God King dragging his battle axe, and shouted in the communication at the same time, "Dillion, are you really dead? If you can still fight, harass me." Dillion on the other side felt much better after spitting out the internal organ fragments accumulated in his body. His body was repairing quickly. After Texas Sass's words, he quickly picked up the euphorbia on the side and began to gather energy towards the Titan God. Launched in the direction of Wang to harass. I don't know why the Titan God King looks like him. As if sensing the angel swooping down from above, he turned around and made a virtual fist with his right palm upwards. The dozen angels who originally swooped down were suddenly imprisoned in mid-air, as if being held by an invisible giant hand. These angels also felt the pressure that Dillion felt before, but unfortunately they did not have as strong a body as Dillion. The Titan God King ignored Dillion's harassing attack. As his empty right hand was completely tightened, the bodies of the dozens of angels who fulfilled the covenant between the angels and Kamigawa made a crisp sound of broken bones, like being broken. It fell to the ground like a bird with wings. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 408. In an area separated by a large galaxy from Titan, a Titan fleet was slowly sailing towards the border of the Red Star Ring. At this moment, on one of the Titan motherships, as the original god of forging and now the new god king, Leokt is quietly watching the battle situation on Titan projected in the void in front of him, and behind him is a rows of young Titans. As the new god king, Leokt was charged with the mission of revitalizing the Titan Protoss. However, after leading the fleet to leave the star system where Titan is located, Leokt felt that he could not let the efforts of the old god king be buried, so he summoned all the young gods to the young Titans were allowed to watch the brutal physical confrontation war that took place on Titan. "Children, that is our god king. Although he is old and cannot even wield the weapons in his hands, he is still the king of the Titan God clan and the god of war of the Titan God clan. And the reason why he drags his old body onto the battlefield is so that we can safely evacuate the kingdom of Titan." Leokt looked around at the young Titans present and saw that their attention was focused on the projection, then he looked away and spoke again. "His Majesty the God King sacrificed his life for the future of the Titan Protoss. I hope you can be worthy of his sacrifice in the future." After wiping out an elite angel team with a single wave of his hand, the Titan King refocused his attention on Texas. Texas, who was running, suddenly felt a huge impact coming from his back, like countless knives scraping his body. Countless scratches instantly appeared on the black heavy armor he was wearing. The next moment, Texas, who was standing on the ground with only 2 legs, was swept away by the impact of energy and flew backwards, falling to the ground and sliding away into the distance. Dillion, who was not far away, was anxious in his eyes. He ignored the fact that he was almost crushed to death by the Titan God King before, and rushed out from where he was, preparing to rescue Texas. For some reason, Texas felt that the Titan God King's eyes had been focused on him. As soon as he escaped from the energy shock, he was imprisoned in place by the sticky unknown energy field. As the energy field strengthened, Texas and the surrounding ground began to float into the air. Terrifying pressure acted on this area. The floating rocks and soil did not even last for a second before being torn and crushed. Crushed into dust. The only thing Texas is better than Dillion is that he can barely struggle, but as time goes on, this energy field continues to strengthen, and the form is Texas armor that is being torn and deformed. The Titan King's fingers slowly tightened, as if he wanted to crush Texas to death, but the sudden burst of blazing white beams and light pillars made his thoughts fail. Two beams, one thick and one thin, hit the Titan God King and exploded violently. Although it failed to cause effective damage to him, it successfully interfered with his movements. Texas violently broke away from the energy field, which dropped in strength in an instant, and threw the god-killing battle axe in his hand with a roar. When Binghua and Astrid arrived near the scene, they also launched attacks to cooperate. They fired powerful sniper beams and dense light prisms flying out together. Seeing this, the Titan God King once again struck the sword and gun in his left hand that he used as a staff. The familiar light blue shockwave spread violently. With the Titan God King as the center, all the energy weapons within a radius of nearly a kilometer were swept by it and then went out. The emitted rays and beams lost their stability and dissipated into countless particles in the air. However, only the god-killing battle axe thrown by Texas knocked the Titan God King back a step. Before Texas could carry back his tomahawk, an energy blast that was different from the previous form drove him into the ground with a bang, leaving a large hole several meters in diameter in the ground. Before the Titan God King could make any other moves, Lin Yuan, who had sneaked around him at some point, punched him in the side with a heavy punch. However, it failed to have much effect. Lin Yuan's fist was blocked by an unknown energy field half a meter away from the Titan God King's armor. Lin Yuan's fist armor, which was about to explode with dark energy impact, was directly blocked by the energy field, and a diffusion reaction occurred, spreading in a ring. Seeing that the attack had little effect, Lin Yuan immediately stepped out of the way without hesitation, just in time to avoid an energy impact that distorted the space. Binghua and Astrid, who were thousands of meters away, had not stopped pouring firepower since they arrived on the battlefield. The blazing sniper beam and compressed light energy shot towards the Titan God King like it was costless. Soon after, Texas, whose armor was damaged by more than 50%, climbed out of the pit and joined the battle. For a time, the 5 war gods of Kamigawa gathered on the battlefield and besieged the Titan God King together, creating an extremely terrifying momentum. The Kamigawa troops in that direction were affected by the battle and suffered heavy losses. They had no choice but to abandon that battlefield and began to merge with friendly forces in other directions. Binghua naturally saw the terrifying momentum coming from Kamigawa, but she did not immediately lead the team to support, because it was enough to have Kamigawa war god Texas there. After giving up the idea of support, Binghua looked at the remaining Titan warriors in the ruins ahead, and Wang Jian pointed his finger and ordered loudly. "Angel warriors, listen to the order. Destroy the remaining Titans on the battlefield. Now the war has reached its final stage. Only by completely wiping them out can we declare victory." Binghua's words made the Angel Legion find their target again, and began to reorganize their formation and rush towards the Titans in front who had survived the orbital bombardment. Binghua glanced at the direction on the left where huge roars were coming from time to time. He stopped paying more attention and flapped his wings to fly out at low altitude. The subtle lightning unique to the thunder fighting method flashed around the ice, and its speed increased sharply. Before a high-ranking Titan could react, it came behind him and broke through with a sword covered with thunder. The Titan's back armor and stomach. Although Titan and Binghua are both experts at playing with thunder, they still cannot escape the fate of being paralyzed. And this short period of paralysis was enough for Binghua to do a lot of things. The sword extended a length and swiped across the Titan's neck with a scorching red color. As a nearly 4-meter thin flame sword energy flew out, the Titan's head rolled to the ground along his shoulders. Soon, under the leadership of Binghua, the Titans who survived the orbital bombardment were almost wiped out. Just when Binghua thought everything was about to settle and be declared over, something unexpected happened on the battlefield on the other side of Kamigawa. The Titan God King used the light blue shockwave to temporarily lose Astrid's ability to attack. After resisting Texas Guillotine and Lin Yuan's attacks, he defeated the Liang War God Emperor Lion with an energy field. He was forcibly torn apart and crushed into serious injuries.